welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. Let's talk about NXT from November 29th, 2022. All right, no news and notes for NXT, at least not that I can think of right now. So let's get right into the show. Let's do the Iron Survivor Challenge things first. So they had a Legends panel, or what Shawn Michaels called the Hall of Fame panel. It was basically just how many old folks can we squeeze into one scene? But it was pretty good. It was useful. Let's put it like that. So it was Road Dogg, X-Pac, Shawn, Medusa, who of course was Alundra Blaze, and Molly Holly. And they were the ones that were having a high level executive conversation about all of the people in NXT who impressed them over the year. It wasn't about wins and losses, which I was like, skirt, because of course Road Dogg would say it's not about wins and losses. Of course he would say that. Of course he would think that you should reward people for being a whole loser all year. But the way that they explained it is who is having a great year, who is involved in doing stuff all year. And if you impressed this all-star panel, this Hall of Fame panel, this Legends panel, if you will, then they would grant you a spot in the Iron Survivor Challenge. So people didn't have to wrestle for it. They got basically gifted a spot due to merit based off of a year's worth of work. Now, there's, of course, positives and negatives to that because, I guess it kind of gets around the idea that somebody could just cheat and get in. Somebody could just, pull some tights and rake some eyeballs and get into it, and get into this match. So, I get that, but I don't know. I don't know if I like the idea of us just handing people spots, but it was unique at least. So let's skip to the people that they chose. For the men, they chose Carmelo Hayes, J.D. McDonough, Grayson Waller, Joe Gacy, and the winner of the wild card match. The wild card match will be Von Wagner, Axiom, and Andre Chase in a triple threat match next week on NXT. The women, they chose Cora Jade, Zoe Stark, Kiana James, Roxanne Perez, and the winner of the women's wild card match, which will be Wendy Chu, Fallon Henley, or Indy Hartwell in a triple threat match. So no Nikita Lyons. Weird decision. Very weird decision to not have Nikita Lyons in this. Especially when she's feuding with Zoe Stark. I mean, the decision making when it comes to Nikita Lyons is very bizarre. We'll talk about that a little bit later. So let's talk about the Iron Survivor Challenge right now. So one person has to actually earn the spot in the ring, which is the winner of the wild card match. It's a triple threat match. From the looks of the men's triple threat match, Von Wagner is probably going to beat Axiom and Andre Chase, basically because it's Axiom and Andre Chase. Who really cares about either one of those guys? I mean, who cares about any of those three guys? But you would think of the three, Andre Chase is probably the most over. But at the same time, he has the least amount of credibility. On the women's side, you have Wendy Chu, Fallon Henley, and Indy Hartwell in the triple threat match. This is kind of a toss-up because that the company likes Wendy Chu and, they like Indy Hartwell. But I do like that the Legends panel was given the positives and negatives, and some people just had such obvious positives that it wouldn't make sense for them not to be in it. Somebody like Carmelo Hayes, for instance. But then when they talked about somebody like Alba Fire, they would say, oh, Alba Fire is great. She had a great year, but she's distracted by her feud with Isla Dawn. And they talked about Von Wagner specifically and Indy Hartwell specifically. So Von Wagner was one of the guys that was picked by, I think Road Dogg picked him. But they found that Von Wagner never really can win the big one. So they kind of was like, we don't know about that guy. He can't win the big one. Axiom was in this match because he was previously injured and they picked him, but he wasn't medically cleared. Of course, now he is, and he's having useless matches on TV. On the women's side, though, he talked about Indy Hartwell, and Medusa was talking about how Indy Hartwell, maybe she doesn't believe in herself, and she's gotta have more faith in herself. So, this is kind of a personal challenge to some of the people, and actually telling a pretty damn good story. How the wild card talent has to prove themselves in the ring, but there's also sort of meta commentary on them about it can Von Wagner win the big one? Can Indy Hartwell focus on, being a champion in NXT? Is she ready? Does she have faith in herself? Does she believe in herself? So those are pretty good angles here. I fully expect, more than likely, Wendy Chu is going to win that triple threat match, even though I probably would go with Fallon Henley. But I thought these segments were okay. They were interesting and it really did a good job, I think, of putting over the young talent by having the legends spend so much time talking about them and really putting them over. So Indy Hartwell, an interesting case because she actually lost the first match on the show. She lost to Roxanne Perez, despite the fact that Indy was kind of dominating the whole match. And they're doing the old indie wrestling stuff, no pun intended, where the winner takes all the bumps throughout the match because you're going over, so you can get body slammed 600 times, which I actually didn't mind because it's been so long since I've seen somebody do a proper body slam that Indy bringing back the body slam was very cool. I was like, okay with that. But Roxanne Perez winning clean, Indy Hartwell not turning on her, beating her up afterwards. I think it would have been a perfect time to do that, to have Indy just kind of boot her in the face. But at the same time, this plays into the Iron Survivor Challenge story that they got for Indy Hartwell, where, does she truly believe in herself? She lost this match, but now she's in a match next week where she has to win that match in order to get into the Iron Survivor Challenge, despite the fact that she's been in NXT for a long time. So she's already lost to somebody who's in the match, being Roxanne Perez. But she gets an opportunity to prove herself next week to get into the match. I'm guessing Indy Hartwell will win, even though I think it's pointless giving her that spot. But, what can you do? It's Shawn. He's doing his own thing, man. He's going rogue. Vince is gone, so Shawn's going rogue. He's just doing all kind of wild, silly stuff. All right, so speaking of Andre Chase University was backstage. Duke Hudson and Thea Hale were back there with him. Duke was trying to apologize for kicking him in the face last week. When Grayson Waller showed up, Grayson Waller mocked Duke Hudson, said that he was a scumbag in real life, which led Thea Hale to go full Scrappy Doo on him and just trying to scratch his eyeballs out or something like that. I don't know what the hell she was trying to do. She wasn't very effective. But, Andre Chase wanted to fight Grayson Waller, but Duke Hudson, insisted on taking his spot. Duke Hudson was defeated by Grayson Waller as Duke Hudson was distracted outside the ring because he almost kicked Thea Hale in the face. He, of course, had to apologize, and, he's been a very nice guy. When he got back into the ring, Grayson Waller rolled into the ring from outside. It was ridiculous. Into the stunner move, which also Duke Hudson didn't take a stunner very well, whatever, and was pinned. At that point, after the match, Grayson Waller looked at Andre Chase and says, I'm right. Duke Hudson is always out for himself. He's always got an angle. He's always working something. I think this match should have been given more time. And what I mean by more time, I mean they should have kicked it down the road another week or two. I think that there's something to continuously play off this story where, I get it that, Duke Hudson I'm a very serious student. But it's like, yeah, we having matches a little too soon out here. Maybe we should have done that for 2 or 3 weeks of Grayson Waller just finally being like, well, are you serious about this crap? Like, this school is stupid, and that pissing off Duke Hudson. And saying, I'll fight you now. Rather than, Grayson Waller just being annoying for 2 weeks. I feel like he should be annoying for 3 or 4 weeks in order for this match to maybe hold more weight. But what's done is done. And we couldn't, I guess we're trying to rush into the Iron Survivor thing. Andre Chase having an opportunity to be in the match. Whatever. I mean, real dog, whatever. We got a funny segment from Javier Bernal and Mackenzie Mitchell. Javier Bernal has announced that his Big Body Tuesday, which is just as good as Cyber Monday and Black Friday. And Big Body Tuesday, he's got a sale on all his new merchandise. He's got a big body baseball bat, a big body pillow with his face on it, but it was already trademarked. Then he has a BBC or a big body cologne. And of course, it was supposed to be a dick joke because, hey, who can ever escape dick jokes? The BBC, the big body cologne. It was ridiculous. But of course, we're supposed to believe that the big body cologne stinks. And it's I think Mackenzie Mitchell says it smells like rotten eggs or something like that. Bernal is really trying, man. I like this guy. He's going for it. And he's nailing some of this stuff. He's pretty good. Axiom appears a little bit later. Says, oh yeah, for 2 weeks you tried to fight me. Now I'm here. I'm medically cleared. And Bernal was kind of like, but then eventually agreed to have the match. And Axiom won the match. The match was probably too long for me. To me, it's just like they're trying to put over Axiom as a threat. So, he's got to win matches, and he just lost the last match he was in. So he come back and get a win over Javier Bernal. That's fine, I guess. But I'm more of a fan of Bernal because of his character and the attempts, to be this loudmouth, egotistical, braggart. I'm far more interested in that than a kid in a mask. I really don't give a shit about a kid wearing a mask. I know, I'm the worst, right? But I forgot to talk about this. This is actually the worst. Dijak, some interesting pastiche of Dolph Lundgren, a stick of chalk, and the Big Boss Man, all rolled into one. It doesn't matter what you do with this guy, he's still terrible. So Dijak defeated Dante Chen. Hey, remember Dante Chen? If you're an NXT 2.0 guy, you remember when Dante Chen, they introduced him. I think he said he was Singaporean or Filipino or something, some kind of Asian. Well, he is Asian, obviously, but he's some kind of like he's not Korean or anything like that, not Japanese, something like that. And he was wrestling, and then I think his dad died, or his dad got sick, or something like that. Then he got injured, and he got derailed, and it's unfortunate because I don't think that there was anything specifically special about Dante Chen, but I remember they put a lot of effort into his debut. He put on with the vignettes and everything. Now he's just, a chew toy for Dijak. And to be quite honest, I was not impressed by Dijak. Oh, look, the guy who called him a big stick of chalk is not impressed. I guess I remain unmoved on the Dijak situation. Just him existing in the match is boring. He's boring. Young Mongo was snoring. This guy sucks. He sucks hard. Fancy that. The guy who calls him a giant stick of chalk and has been talking about how terrible he is for 3 years continues to think that he's terrible. And you know what? He ain't going to beat the garbage ass Chalkakovich accusations. He ain't going to beat that case. The jury going to go into the back room and deliberate. Probably for like 20 to 30 minutes, watch one of his matches during that time, look at the evidence, and really say to themselves, Mongo made a really good case. Dijak, no matter what you do with him, you could fry him, you could fricassee him, you could dissect him, you could do whatever. He just still comes out trash. It just doesn't matter what you do with him. You could put him in a black jacket where either he's the Fonz or he's the heel. Doesn't do him any good. He's not the Fonz. That means he's a heel. And he's wearing boss man shades. And he's got a serious man goatee. But all I see underneath all of that is just plain white chalk. This guy got the charisma of a Sam Harris podcast or something. Like something that's real, like he got the charisma of an ebook. Like the guy is just gonna put you to sleep. Like this shit is not gonna work out in the long term. But I mean, I'm willing to give him a chance. I am a nice guy. I am always about trying to give people chances. But Dijak, man, come on, man. We tried to slap a mask on this guy. That didn't save him. So now we took the mask off. We gave him cool shades. And we gave him a black jacket. Because, black jacket, either you're a heel or you're the Fonz. Hey, he just ain't got it. He ain't got it. He ain't good enough. He sucks. And then he cut a promo afterwards, which, doubled down on it. And he's doing puns. He says this was an example of hard justice. Hard justice. And says that in his eyes, you'll see afflicting suffering onto people. That he came back to NXT to eviscerate this soft society and named out a bunch of people and then said he's going to bring them all to justice. His justice. Dum, dum, dum. You serving hard times. Oh, you're serving hard times. You better watch him go. You're serving hard times. Carries a big stick, a bowling chain too. I'm sorry. Talking about somebody who's infinitely better than Dijak. Now, I said last week that if Dijak was in any way attacking Wesley on behalf of our boy, Tony D'Angelo, I would be cool with it, and I would be okay with that. Then we immediately goes to the NXT parking lot, where Dijak looks at Tony D'Angelo like he's never seen him before in his life, but at the same time knows everything about him. And I was just kind of like, no. At the end of this conversation, I like Dijak substantially less than when we started it. In the span of like 40 seconds, I went from, yes, finally to, oh, no, this garbage individual, he can't even be a henchman. He can't even reach hench level. This sucks. Anyway, Tony D'Angelo thanked Dijak for taking out Wesley. To which Dijak says, I do my own thing. It had nothing to do with you. I'm just kind of like, oh no, please be a mistake. Please just say you said that because the camera was there. Anyway, Tony D'Angelo is back in business. He's going to see to it that Wesley is not going to become or maintain his North American title for very long. He basically just wants Dijak to stay out of his way. And it's just, classic Tony D'Angelo. This is how his thing with Santos Escobar started. It's Tony D'Angelo walk up to somebody like, hey, I got a plan. I'm about to do this thing. I want you to stay over here, stay out of my face. And people just be like, what? What do you mean? Like, you're just going to tell me what to do? You're just going to kick me around? Anyway, Dijak says that he would consider, well, I don't know what he said, to be quite honest. I blanked out, bro. I was like, he's not a henchman. I don't care what this guy does. This was interesting. JD McDonough was hanging out in the Diamond Mine dojo. I don't know why. He was just there. He was talking to Ivy Nile. They were having a civil conversation about how the Creed brothers suck. Or I'm sorry, the Creed brothers were just not good enough to beat Indus Sher. For some reason, Ivy Nile was talking about them behind their back, and this is perfectly okay. JD McDonough is approached by the Creed brothers, and he starts breaking down the science of how the Creed brothers can't possibly win. That it takes a certain amount of pressure to break a human skull. And the Creed brothers can't do it, but he's pretty sure the Indus Sher can. Things going to be very bad for him. They should probably back out of this. Probably think twice. The Creed brothers, they're blockheads and, athletes and stuff. So they're like, no, we got this. We believe in ourselves and, even if nobody else does. So they kick out JD McDonough and basically ignore that Ivy Nile was talking with this guy about how, the Indus Sher is going to crush their skulls. That's not what friends do. Friends don't talk about you while you're, going to get your skull crushed. That doesn't sound right. That doesn't sound right at all, but, the situation we found ourselves in. So JD McDonough has a match against Julius Creed. This match was actually very solid. Julius Creed is a pretty good wrestler. Well, performer. Let's put it like that. While McDonough is, again, shaped like a human piss dispenser, but is decent. You know, he's like Jack Skellington, the size of his head versus the size of his body. Julius Creed pulled out his going down to the knees suplex again. Always a pleasure to see that. It's a brilliant move. It's going to get over like $1 million. I'm telling you, I love that move. All right, so the finish, JD McDonough tries to hit Julius Creed with a chair. Sanga pushed Julius Creed out of the way and took the chair shot himself. So despite this, which shouldn't have been considered illegal, because Sanga wasn't in the match, so who cares if he got hit with a chair, the referee called for the bell. So apparently it was a disqualification because JD McDonough was swinging chairs around, which I thought you could throw chairs and do whatever you wanted as long as you didn't make contact with anybody. Somebody explain those rules to me. I don't think anybody can. Anyway, the induced share, they look at the Creed brothers and say they don't want them at less than 100%. So I like that. I think that's great. You know, telling these guys, we don't want to give you no excuses. So we took that chair shot for you so you won't get no excuse. You know, no excuses when we kick that ass. So I like that, okay? McDonough didn't lose, so he gets to maintain his spot as a guy who is going to be in the Iron Survivor Challenge. He lost, but it was by disqualification. He's trying to prove a point by, you know, hitting Julius Creed with a chair anyway. Okay, all's good. Kiana James defeated Fallon Henley. The match was entirely too long. I get it. They're rookies, they're trainees. You got to give them some reps, but this felt like it's something that should have been like, if a match of this length is probably better suited for Level Up and not for NXT TV. This match is too long for NXT TV. I don't know. To me, they're doing okay with increasing some of the younger chicks or some of the newer chicks, like Kiana James, into the roster. Like they're really trying to find something with her. They haven't quite clicked it yet, but they're searching, they're reaching. They got their hands feeling around on the floor in the dark. They're gonna come around their underwear eventually. Malik is backstage weeping. Well, he's angry about his torn sweater vest. It was his dad's sweater vest. Like, wow, okay. He's wearing hand-me-down clothes from his dad. So, Odyssey Jones says that he needs to use that energy to be better than Von Wagner, to be a bigger man, better man. And Sanofe is the negative one. He's like, yeah, you need to channel that anger and go kick his ass. So Malik Blade is like, yeah, definitely. I definitely want to go try to kick that giant mountain mongoloid looking freak. I want to beat his ass. I want to beat him up. So they decided to have the match, Von Wagner versus Malik Blade, and it went exactly as you would think. The small black man got his ass beat. Of course he did. After the match, Von Wagner continued the attack, but Idris Enofe and Odyssey Jones came out to make the save and ended up knocking Von Wagner over the top rope. So it seems like we're probably going to eventually end up with Von Wagner versus Odyssey Jones. And I don't hate that idea. I don't love it. I certainly don't love it. But I don't hate it. You know, and I'm in a world of, it's okay for me to not hate things. You know, it's okay. So Cora Jade is continuously mocking Wendy Chu. Wendy Chu was weeping like a goddamn infant after mommy left to go to work and, you know, gets left in the house like a nanny or something. Wendy Chu was weeping and Cora Jade mocked her for it, which was, you know, okay. I didn't hate it. It would be a TikTok video though, and I'm kind of the TikTok stuff. Please, you know, let that Chinese propaganda into your house. Next, a false start, Toxic Attraction versus Kaden Carter and Katana Chance and Nikita Lyons. So they had Zoe Stark attack Nikita Lyons during her entrance and take her knee out and stomp her knee and all that kind of stuff. So KC Squared actually helps Nikita Lyons to the back. She goes to see a trainer. The trainer just kind of moves her knee back and forth, asks her if any pain. She's like, nope. And said it was okay to go out and have the match. So they do in the main event of the show. Toxic Attraction defeats Kaden Carter, Katana Chance, and Nikita Lyons because Nikita Lyons tried to throw a spin kick, but her knee gave out. Weirdly enough, it was the knee she was trying to kick with, not the one she was planting her foot with, that went out. And then they gave her a very weird looking finisher, which was essentially a high-low where it's a kick to the knee and I think a sort of a brogue kick. The Toxic Attraction sometimes works a little too light, so it didn't look like a devastating finish to me. But Nikita Lyons is the biggest person in this entire match and is the one who took the pinfall. She's the one. I thought the purpose of this match was to showcase Nikita versus Mandy Rose so that, they can get used to each other and tease the audience for when the feud is actually about to happen. But instead, Zoe Stark, who's wearing a black jacket, you know what that means. She's either the Fonz or she's a heel. She's clearly a heel. She's hanging up in the balcony. And, she's watching Nikita Lyons lose. And I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't understand why she lost this match. I don't understand why Toxic Attraction needed to win. I get it. I get that Toxic Attraction has lost a lot lately. But at the same time, how does this increase their tag team rank? If there was an internal ranking of tag teams, how does winning a 6-man tag increase your tag team rank? I don't know, man. It doesn't make any sense. It seems kind of silly to me that they would beat Nikita in this situation. It's even if you try to give her the out of, or she had a surgically repaired knee and then Zoe Stark attacked it. So of course she's kind of weak in the knees. And that's a fine story to tell, but then you turn around and put Zoe Stark in the Old Iron Survivor Challenge and didn't put Nikita Lyons in it. And then she's also not in the wild card thing. So it's pretty obvious to me and anybody who's watching that these people actually see that Zoe Stark is some kind of big deal. If you go back to the Hall of Fame Legends Roundtable, they were talking about, oh yeah, you should be really, Sean, I'm surprised they haven't called up Zoe Stark yet. Isn't that, she's so great. I'm looking like, are you motherfuckers crazy? Are you out of your mind? Zoe Stark? What? She look like a mother of 4. What the fuck? She look like she does yoga on the weekends. No, she's not a superstar. What is this shit? She's a Serena Deeb waiting to happen. And look, there's something positive about, being a Serena Deeb. It's not like the most awful thing in the world. But for fuck's sake, you have somebody here that the internet really is into. And you're not even showcasing her, not putting her in any positive light. They're actively fucking with Nikita Lyons. It's almost like Austin Theory, kind of. Where everybody's looking at her saying, yep, she's a star. So because of that, she didn't get to win the breakout tournament, even though she was put in it. She was taken out of it. She didn't get to win the tag team tournament. She was taken out of that too. Now she's not going to get to win the Iron Survivor Challenge. She's never going to fucking wrestle Mandy Rose. It's like, what the fuck is the point? Why are you doing this? And they're constantly teasing, little shit. Like, she didn't get to win the tag team championships, even though she was forced to tag team with this fucking Peg Bundy looking chick, fucking Zoe Stark or whatever. I don't get it. I'm not understanding it. It's got to be work rate shit. And that's the only real response you got. It's not like there's two, bodacious chicks and, you got to choose one, so you choose maybe this one. It's got to be work rate shit. They want to try to push the work rate girl. And I'm saying to myself, that's not going to work. When has that shit ever fucking worked? That's going to flop hard, but whatever. Do you think, Sean? Moving on quickly. Aoife Valkyrie, she's back under a new name, Lyra Valkyria. For those of you who don't know, Aoife Valkyrie was previously, she had a long winning streak going in NXT UK, where she essentially was, she would challenge people to matches. I think this is something that Killer Kelly has kind of borrowed for Impact. Where, well, not Killer Kelly, but Masha Slamovich, where she would basically come out and she would challenge various women by leaving feathers outside of the ring for them. And that would be like, a challenge. She'd win the match, and then she got all the way to Meiko Satomura and lost. And then I think she got injured in her match against Meiko Satomura. And she hadn't been seen since. This was probably about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago. When NXT UK got the purge, she was not fired, obviously. That's why she's back. But I'm guessing Eva Valkyrie is the name she used on the Independents. So now she's Lara Valkyria. She's actually very good. Her gimmick is it's built into Celtic mythology. She's a Morrigan, what is a sort of a war fairy, a kind of thing, you know. But she basically just wears feathers all the time, and her gimmick involves feathers. That's kind of it. But she's very good in the ring. They didn't really have her cut too many promos in NXT UK, so I was actually surprised to hear her voice for the first time. But she's a good pickup, you know. I like this. They're still bringing in people from the UK, but they're doing it smart this time. They're just introducing them one at a time. They brought in Isla Dawn. They gave Isla Dawn a dancing partner. Eva Valkyrie, they're doing vignettes. So they're doing it a lot differently than when they did with the guys, where they just started just dumping fucking NXT UK guys on the roster. You know, like that shit wasn't cool, man. It's like you invited one person to a party and they just brought all their fucking friends, you know? It's like, you know, like, hey man, come to my birthday party. It's like, yeah. And then he shows up like his whole frat or something like that. And you're like, is it cool? My buddies come? It's like, what the fuck? Gallus and all these dudes just show up at the party. What the fuck? Electra Lopez, she was there. She says that she didn't understand Indy Hartwell love, but she knows that Indy Hartwell is the heart and soul of NXT, and if she takes out the heart and soul, she will become the heart. And she came back to NXT to build her own empire. Okie dokie. I ain't mad at that. Okay, so Apollo Crews and Braun Breaker walk into a diner. Oh boy. So your pay-per-view is in like 2 weeks, right? And you decided that you're going to spend those 2 weeks with these guys sitting at these small ass tables in a diner, talking to each other with like scrambled eggs and toast on the table. Like, what? The toast looked pretty good. It looked like it was Texas toast too. Like it had it kind of thick, not bad. So the crux of this thing is that Apollo Crews wants to be NXT champion more now than he did when he first got there, due to all the work that he had to do and all the chasing that he had to do in order to get this match. He feels like he's bigger and stronger than Braun and that he can beat him, and that now he's staying in the gym a lot later, knowing that Braun has these incredible skills and that his visions are never wrong. Braun Breaker believes that Apollo Crews was blinded or distracted by Grayson Waller, and that he is the reason why Braun gets up earlier and goes to the gym, and that when it comes to Braun's says, and when it comes to Apollo's visions, he may think they were never wrong, but there's a first time for everything. And they basically had a civil conversation in this goddamn greasy spoon trucker stop diner right off exit 66 or whatever the fuck, right? And they talked about going to the gym, but nobody had a bag. Nobody was hitting the weights. Nobody didn't. They just stared at each other. And, you know, Braun Breaker had a tiny cup of coffee. Oh God, what the fuck? Jesus, they were being passive aggressive with each other. This shit felt like a Marvel comic where, you know, they just sit in the diner and talk. You know, it's like, two guys go to a diner and they chit chat. It's like they're trying to talk it out. What's going on here? I get that they're trying to build some heat up. They even took some pot shots at each other. You know, Brian's like, "Yeah, this is where you hang out. Is the food any good?" And you know, Apollo Crews is like, "What? No more fish to catch?" I'm like, we're having a championship match between a fisherman and a guy who, oh God, he's a soup of the day guy. You know, come on, man. Where's the energy in this thing? We definitely need some energy in this. We need to do something. We need somebody to set somebody on fire or something. Maybe we need to bring back some of the Shredder, Cobra Commander silliness, Skeletor silliness of Joe Gacy. Because this thing doesn't have no energy, and I feel so bad. Because it's the problem is that they both are baby faces. And they keep doing this babyface versus babyface stuff, which is, of course, killing Braun, because he can't keep fighting baby faces, for Christ's sake. Eventually, you have to give him a heel. And I know that JD McDonough was a heel, but he was more well known than Braun, and people are kind of, I know that Tyler Bate was a babyface, so whatever, man. I'm rambling at this point. Okay, so Pretty Deadly, they're backstage dressed like Seth Rollins, or Seth Rollins is dressing like them. I think they're sharing a closet, saying that there's not enough talk about them, and next week they're going to be spending some time telling Christmas stories. And you know what? I'll look forward to that, because Pretty Deadly look like they're about to have some fun doing something very silly. They're probably gonna be wearing pajamas with the feet in them, all kind of furry stuff or satin and see-through stuff. It's gonna be ridiculous. Probably gonna be funny as hell. So I'm interested in this. Maybe not them in basically Seth Rollins gear, but them doing something silly for Christmas. I'm all about it. Let's go for it. And finally, Alba Fire put out a response vignette to Isla Dawn. In the response vignette, Alba Fire says that whatever spirit sent you after me have got it in for you. And said that what she does to Isla Dawn is going to be far from fun. So, okay. Didn't hate this. Thought this was actually pretty good. Don't have no problem with this. I think this show was pretty good. Overall, I think it was a very solid show. I think some of the matches were too long, of course, but that's just become a problem since Vince was gone. The matches have gotten outrageous, and it was 7 matches on this show. Again, entirely too many. Again, 4 or 5 solid matches with some length to it, some storyline to it, some character stuff. Works a lot better than trying to cram 7 goddamn matches in here. I don't know. Whatever. So, it is what it is. The Iron Survivor Challenge thing should be fun. I don't hate it. It's very complicated. It involves penalty boxes. Not a fan of the penalty box idea. We could do without the penalty boxes. We could also do it without 7-match cards. And the women probably got far more ring time than the men this week, which is becoming quite the usual. There was no scripts. We had weeks and weeks and weeks of scripts, and this week, no scripts. Not even a hint or a promo or nothing. I think that they knew they screwed the pooch, and they decided, you know what, we're gonna abort mission. No, I'm not gonna say it was that extreme just for one outing. I wouldn't say they're gonna give up on them. But it seems pretty odd that they would decide to not feature him on this episode in any way, not even in a backstage setting or promo or anything like that. Just nothing, just no scripts at all. Period. I don't know. That seemed weird to me. I don't know did it seem weird to y'all? They got a lot of negative backlash about the scripts outfits. Which, they could touch up over time. I mean, that's just kind of how costumes go. Costuming takes a while for you to really get it. It's rare that people nail it on their first try when it comes to costuming. It's something that's going to come together over time. But I also think that it might have been that Shawn and Triple H have this week on, week off thing where, everybody doesn't wrestle every week. Guys may come this week and then they won't be there next week, because Isla Dawn wasn't on this show either. So she didn't have a promo on this show or nothing. So maybe that's what they're doing. They say, okay, he wrestled last week, so he doesn't do anything this week. He comes back next week. I think when somebody is new, you should want to get them out there as much as possible, because you don't want to destroy the momentum. So I don't know. It seems pretty weird to me that scripts wouldn't be there. Seems also, again, very offensive to me that Nikita Lyons is not in this Iron Survivor Challenge, and apparently not in the conversation to be wrestling Mandy Rose. I think that is a slap in the face to everybody who is a fan of the BBL. I think we all just sitting here looking at each other, saying to ourselves, hey, there's a possibility Wendy Chu could be in this thing. I mean, they put fucking Kiana James in this thing, not Nikita Lyons. Very, very, very weird. Oh God, Very strange. Very strange. But I mean, overall, I think the episode of NXT was pretty solid, though. It's not too much to complain about. Their decision making is a little weird, but where's Zion Quinn for the record? Where did he go? Is he going to come back with like new boobs or something, like Tiffany Stratton? He's going to come back with new titties. Everybody's just waiting on bated breath for Tiffany Stratton to come back. I think she'll probably show back up either the week after deadline or maybe the week of. But I think she is actually somebody I think they might have a future for. But, I don't know, man. The women's division is pretty solid. You could look at the women's like Iron Survivor Challenge and say that it's not too bad. The men's, though, again, not awful. Grayson Waller, J.D. McDonough, Carmelo Hayes, Joe Gacy, and probably Von Wagner. That ain't terrible. But NXT has a history of people disappearing. Gallus disappeared. Tyler Bate disappeared. Ilya Dragunov is actually hurt, but he disappeared. Scripps, like I just mentioned, he disappeared. Nathan Fraser, where the hell did he go? He disappeared. When you don't have enough characters on the show, I get it that you don't want to feature everybody every week, but you should some people you should feature more often so that they can get over, quicker. Let's put it like that. All right. Like, share, subscribe. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.
MagMongoSlade. Best house I ever drew, Daddy.